Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 412 of the Stacey West podcast. I am Ben, and I'm joined tonight by Emily. Bemily is in the house, as somebody has already said. How are we doing, Emily? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, Bemily's here. I'm a little bit tired, but I think that's just the result of a long week and a emotionally draining day yesterday. How are you, Ben?
I think that's probably two of us. Yeah, it's not been the most fun weekend in terms of football, but we will be coming to that. But has everything else been all right? What have you been up to? Because I think you've got a story to tell. You've left me on tenterhooks in.
Well, I want to take us back to happier times before we get into the game yesterday. I want to take us back to happier times and Peterborough away, because I have a fun little story about my away day at Peterborough. So I was actually on BBC Radio 5 Live the morning of that game last Saturday. Yeah, with Patrick Keelty playing a novel little game called Higher or Lower.
Right.
I know. Where they put a travelling away fan up against a local food vendor, and I had to guess whether the prices of their food were higher or lower. Now, I was up against David from The Shed in Peterborough, and I was beaten 3-0, comfortably beaten 3-0 on Higher or Lower, but we won't dwell on that part. But when we got to Peterborough, me and my dad, we went straight to The Shed to meet David and say hello. We got there. He wasn't in. But his bar staff called him, and we sat around for a bit. It was no away fans, so full of Peterborough supporters, and then just me and my dad in our red and white, obviously. And then David showed up, and a lovely man, eccentric, let's put it that way, an eccentric fellow. But we got a free hot dog and beer out of it.
Wow.
And and he paraded us around the bar going, "This is Emily from the radio." Nobody knew what he was talking about, just blank faces as I was getting paraded around this bar in Peterborough. "This is Emily from the radio, guys." No idea. But yeah, he said he was very good mates with Vinnie Jones.
Okay.
Old David. And we had a lovely time in The Shed. Had a photo with him and the bar staff, which he asked me to send him on Facebook afterwards, that he wants to put up in the bar. So there, me and my dad are going to be up in the bar in The Shed alongside Vinnie Jones.
Wow.
Which is quite nice.
That's brilliant. Although I do have one thing to say about that story. And as soon as you said the name of the game, I thought, come on, there's a better name for that, surely. If you're doing a game that's based around food that you're going to get at football, and it's based on a classic, TV show that involves going higher or lower with stuff, surely you call it Play Your Carbs Right.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
I'll drop Paddy Keelty a note and let him know.
I'm sure you got his mobile number now. That's how it works, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. But no, it was good fun. A little bit of fun on the radio, and then a whole lot of fun meeting Dave from The Shed afterwards. But I would recommend people, if they do go to Peterborough, next time we go, well, if we're in the same league next season. But it is home fans only. But I've got
no
his
club
number.
Colours. No club colours.
No club colours. But a good hot dog. So
there we go. Well, especially when it's free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tastes even better.
Yeah.
But what have you got to tell me, Ben? What have you been up to?
Well, I've had a bathroom fitted, which is looking absolutely lovely. So that's all very nice. But not a great deal exciting. Although I am very jealous of my mum at the moment, and I'm talking about my actual mum, not my podcast mum. Because she is in the comments. She says, "Evening, kids." There we go.
She's in already.
I'm slightly jealous of my mum because she lost her phone in the week before she went, like literally as she was going to go on holiday, and that basically meant that she's got back and she said, "Oh, I need to get a new phone." I was like, "Right, okay, well you can get this one, and this one because she is of the Apple persuasion." So yeah, the long and short of it is my mum has a newer phone than I do now, which is it's one of those things as a tech geek. You're going, "Oh, but I want the shiny." Oh. So,
Yeah, I get it. I'd love a new phone. I tell you what, when I ordered my iPhone, which must have been a couple of years ago now that I've had mine, I ordered it and the courier delivered it, and I opened the kind of jiffy bag thing that it comes in, and I thought, this box doesn't look Apple standard, looks a bit tatty, like it had been thrown around the distribution center or whatever. Opened it up, and the little hole where your phone kind of sits in the packaging.
yeah.
Instead of a phone, there was just a half-eaten block of dairy milk.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow, bloody hell. I can't really top that. So shall we start talking about some fun things? Because we will talk about the Exeter game. We've got a few bits to discuss and go over, because obviously it was a disappointing day. But today has been a fun day, hasn't it, Emily? Because
It's been a very good day. Very good day.
yeah, as of around 50 minutes ago at 6:17 exactly, you may well have seen it in the intro, and you might be able to just spot it over Emily's shoulder there. The Stacey West have a new logo and new branding. So this might be a little bit more of a treat for the visual viewers than the audio listeners. But if you haven't seen it yet, audio listeners, please do go over to anything Stacey West related, whether that's the YouTube channel, whether that's the website, whether that's the Twitter or Facebook, whatever it is, because this logo is now everywhere across the Stacey West social channels and everything. And it is bloody lovely, isn't it?
It is an absolute beauty. I love it.
Yeah, it's just like, it's phenomenal. If you've not seen it, if you're listening, it's got the sort of classic retro top of the imp head at the top of a shield, and then there's a line, sort of very stylized drawing of the Stacey West stand with it's all red, black, and white. It's very bold, very very brave. And we've transformed from this old logo here on the left to the new one on the right hand side, and it looks absolutely superb. We've got little flourishes for YouTube there. We've also got one specifically for the podcast. So if you've got your podcast feed, you'll notice that logo has changed to this one. And then we've got another one here for a little bit of social stuff. Yeah, love it. And of course, because we've known about this for a while, and because I have access to toys, I made some things.
Yeah.
I made some things. So we've all got little, well, I say little, we've all got Stacey West branded plaques that we are putting up. And yeah, it just feels modern and really nice. Adam Bull actually says, Ben, have you 3D printed it? Yes, I have. Several times. But we've got a couple of shout outs to give here. And I know he is in the comments because I have seen his name and I am trying to fill while I find them. But Samuel Rowson is in Evening All. He says, this man here is responsible for everything that you've seen with the new logo and everything. And he's done a fantastic job. Absolutely superb stuff. I mean, your thoughts on it all, Em?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I kind of work in branding anyway, and this has been kind of just the most exciting thing I've got to work on, I have to say. But I think the design looks absolutely fantastic. I just love that it just ties what we do a lot more to the club with the logo in terms of Lincoln City itself. And I think the main logo with the stand in it is, I feel like it's iconic, because I think that stand is iconic to Lincoln fans. The Stacey West stand. It's what the podcast is named after. It kind of feels like, yeah, we should be, kind of demonstrating that in our brand. I think it looks I think it looks so good, and yeah, just really excited to kind of see and hear what everybody else thinks to it. And yeah, Sam's done an amazing job, a really amazing job, and put up with us going back and forth with amends and changes and all sorts of bits of feedback, and kind of interpreted what it was that we wanted our podcast and blog and social media to look like perfectly. So massive thank you and well done, and words, there's not enough words to say how appreciative I am of all Sam's work, and also to you and to Stu and to Gaz, who behind the scenes today have been updating everything, getting us all ready for the switch over. So hats off to you all for doing that as well.
Yeah, no, it's been good fun. I think Gaz said that he didn't quite realize how much work was needed to change it over on everything all at once. But yeah, it was. It's just a really nice and cohesive now. I think it was, previously the sort of the stencil one with the squiggles on it. Basically, that was knocked out, I think, by me in a short weekend. It was like, I can do that because I've got some fancy brushes for my Photoshop and all the rest of it. But yeah, no, to have it properly professionally designed is just brilliant. And I am going to have one of those rare moments when I feel like I'm allowed to blow my own a little bit, because the little bit with the retro imp head, that was my suggestion. I put it in the chat. I put it in the chat ages ago. I was like, could we do a shield but with that? And yeah, it went down really well. And yeah, obviously we have to say as well, big thank yous to the club for allowing us to have that part of the logo in the design. The club have been, as always, unbelievable with everything. It's just been superb, and we're just so happy. So happy with how it's gone. And yeah, the fact that we've got it out there now. Already we are getting questions. Are they available to buy, says Flossie? Any chance of Stacey West podcast merch? Says Andy.
Could be a nice stocking filler, Ben. Just
maybe.
putting it out there.
Watch this space. Watch this space on that one. But yeah. Yeah, just phenomenal stuff. It's really good. So yeah, let's move away from that then, and I suppose we'd better start talking about the Exeter game. Now, look, it's obviously difficult. Well, it's a lot more difficult to talk about a loss, and it makes it a little bit less fun to talk about on the podcast, but going into the game, I think there was an air of confidence among the fans, and it was probably justified. I mean, we've obviously had a decent spell. We've been on a good run. Exeter have been on a really bad run. And I think it was Chris that said, they've lost 5 on the bounce. Can they lose 6 on the bounce? And I think the preview that I did earlier in the week, it all seemed to point towards, like, Gary Caldwell's trying to get them playing a certain way, and they can't play that. They've not got the players to do it, and it just felt like it was going to be one of those where you go, oh, okay, yeah, this could be routine. And then it it wasn't. It just, I don't know of any other game where you have had either team with 50 plus touches in the opposition penalty area and they've lost. I'm still trying to piece together what happened yesterday afternoon. But let's start with the lineup. I mean, all of the talk around the Bradford game getting postponed, and the talk around, is it to protect Conor McGrandles, who's 1 yellow card away from a suspension? Everything else, and if he's injured, then are we going to have the are we going to have the cover in place with the experienced players to bring him in? Or that's no disrespect to Finn Barbrook, but it might be a bit too soon for him to be starting in the league. But I mean, that one aside, with not really any major surprises in the lineup, Emily, was there?
No real surprises. Apart from Conor McGrandles missing, as you've said, and I think it just as frustrating for some people as the Bradford postponement will be. it makes even more sense now, doesn't it? Like you say, it
Yeah.
makes even more sense if Ivan's called up to Ukraine. Then yeah, we're going to be very light in that area. So it made complete sense. The lineup, nothing, no surprises. I think there's always, is it going to be Jacko? Is it going to be Tom Hamer? Debate, which is a good one to have. But it's never really a surprise when either of them feature because they're both so good. But there's one person that I do want to just mention briefly in terms of our starting 11, and that is Rico Hackett. Because must have been a few weeks ago now, me and Gaz did a podcast where we listed if everybody in the squad is fit, what is our starting 11? And I believe we both said Rico Hackett was in there. Now, he seems to have been dislodged from that starting 11. He was obviously missing through illness, and that meant Ben House played out wide and Draper played in the 10. So I know we've had this debate of how do you play both House and Draper, and we've kind of found out now. But there's absolutely no way in my mind you can drop House.
No.
And there's no way you can drop Draper. So Rico Hackett, who a few weeks ago was absolutely in that starting 11, no questions asked, now's dropped to the bench.
Yeah, it's a good. I say it's a good one. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you look at where you'd play Ben House. You would not expect him to be playing out on the left wing, but since he's played there, I mean, he scored 2 goals that were very similar. One was away at Burton, wasn't it? And the other one was at home the other week. I can't remember who it was against, but the 2 very, very similar goals from the edge of the box, cutting in and taking that on his right foot. But the past 2 weeks, Ben House has been my man of the match. You know, he was absolutely superb away at Peterborough, and I thought yesterday he was the player that was likely going to be the one that made it happen for us. He's just all over. It was Luton. Sorry, yes, it was Luton. You know, he was all over the place in a good way. It's just
they took him off, brought on Eric Ring yesterday, and I didn't want to see him come off.
No,
didn't want to see him come off, and there's no way I'd be playing Hackett over him. To be honest,
no.
I think Hackett's come on as sub in recent games, and yeah, I suppose you can argue when you're coming on late in a game. In some of our games, the game's won, not yesterday. Can he really impact it? But I think House has looked just excellent in comparison.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm first off, I'm delighted for Ben House because you know we were having conversations, weren't we, over close season about you know, as you say, where is he going to fit in? How's he going to fit into the squad? But he's just got a bit of a second wind this season, and I'm really, really impressed with how he started so far. But yeah, I mean, the question about Rico, it's one that we will come on to because there is quite a key moment in the game that involves Rico Hackett, I think. And yeah, it's. I keep saying it. But it's a headache that I'm glad isn't mine.
Yeah.
But you know, who do you start in these positions? And like you say, for me at the minute, you just can't drop Ben House.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's putting in such excellent performances and scoring goals as well. He's contributing with the goals, which I think is really important. I mean, for the first half yesterday, at least, he had the better of Sweeney, their centre half. He took the ball off him a couple of times. Had him for pace as well. Yeah, he had the better of their centre half yesterday. But yeah, that was just a question, just something that popped into my head when we were looking at the lineup yesterday. Just sort of thought, yeah, is Rico just notable? I thought that Rico Hackett is sort of lost that he's one of your first names on the team sheet place.
Yeah, no, it's a bit crazy. Obviously, you know, the other one, as we've said, Conor McGrandle was out. Ivan Varfolomiev getting his first league start in an imp shirt, and yeah, other than that, like I say, no major surprises. But I mean, I think going into it, the first half, I don't know if it was just me, but it felt weird yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I've written down in my notes, to kind of note a few things down on my phone while I'm watching the game. If I know I'm coming on the pod, I put not our usual fast start.
No.
I think we're very used to us just kind of having a real bombardment early on, and a lot of the time we see a goal in that. We've seen really early goals recently. I mean, even the Chelsea game when Lewis Montsma hit the post in the first couple of minutes was a really fast start, but we didn't have that.
No.
We didn't have that in the first kind of opening 10, 15 minutes, which is felt unusual, felt unsettling. It's not what we're used to.
Yeah, I almost sat there. Well, I sat there and I thought to myself, is this what we expected to see at the Peterborough game? Because obviously Chelsea game, everyone was thinking, oh, we've expended it, and obviously we've got the depth to be able to make the changes and all the rest of it. I think there was probably a few people expecting last weekend to be a slower paced affair, and after the Lord Mayor's show, whatever, however you want to put it. I almost think that game that feeling got postponed by a week, and it came about yesterday. Yeah, it just didn't feel like a normal Lincoln City home game. We weren't. I don't want to be too harsh on the criticism, but it didn't feel like we were really at it. And I think Exeter, they're the worst team that I've seen at the Bank so far this season. They were poor in pretty much every aspect, and we just couldn't capitalize on anything.
No.
In that first half, I mean, the best chance of the half fell to James Collins, and it was cleared off the line. There was maybe one or two of the pot shots. I think at the end of the game, Michael Skabala spoke about trying to score the perfect goal, and there might have been a couple of instances of that where the one pass too many when a shot would have sufficed. But honestly, I was struggling to see how we didn't score in that first half, Emily.
Yeah, me too. I think after the kind of first few minutes, where like I say, we didn't feel like we really got going. I think probably around the 20-minute mark, we started to turn it on, and really kind of started to huff and puff against Exeter. And yeah, you're right. There was a really good chance from James Collins that was sort of headed off the line or headed over the bar off the line by their defender. House had a really good run. He ran down to the byline, pulled it back, and it just slightly behind Rob Street, yards out from goal. A real kind of chance there. And it was just really a kind of a flurry of half chances, good balls into the box. We had a kind of a succession of corners that were causing a little bit of chaos, but nothing was dropping for us. It was just one of those where, we were, like I say, huffing and puffing, but nothing was coming off. And I think it's hard to reflect on it and reflect as to whether, when we're all Lincoln fans in the ground, it's hard to reflect on whether Exeter were just defending really well. But it kind of just felt as if it just wasn't falling for us. It felt more bad luck than Exeter's quality. But then I always wonder when things like that happen. I always wonder, well, they must have been doing something right. They were very physical, which I think was it could have been a bit of a challenge for us. But yeah, I think
so are we.
We are. Perhaps it's a little bit of fatigue. I don't know. But yeah, we didn't start as fast as we normally do, and then picked up in kind of 20 minutes onwards. But I wonder if that switch around of that momentum does it throw us a little bit? Were we getting used to the wind and the conditions in that first few minutes, which just made everything a little bit more awkward? But yeah, we weren't kind of hell for leather like we always are in those opening few minutes. And I mean, it's like you said at the start of the podcast that listening to all the previews, the interview that you did, it very much sounded like Exeter like to play the ball around, have a lot of possession, play it around at the back. Perhaps they're not capable of doing it. And then you look at the stats for the game, we had more possession. And they
Yeah.
weren't sort of holding on to it a lot at the back and playing it
Yeah.
around. They didn't play in the way that I thought they would. So maybe they switched it up and it caught us a little bit. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. I just think it was I just think it was one of those where we we didn't really feel we didn't really feel like we were at it. I mean, you mentioned the stats, so let's look at some numbers. I mean, in terms of everything that we've got in the total game, it was total shots 16 on 16 for us, 7 for them, 3 on target for us, 2 on target for them, 3 big chances according to FOTMob for us, none for them. We missed all of our big chances. Accurate passes, 233 with a 67% completion rate. That feels low to me, particularly when you look at Exeter's 214 with 69% completion. It's just, I think I used the term sloppy in our group chat yesterday when we were describing some of the things that were happening in the game, and it just felt like that. Yeah, we just weren't our normal selves. I mean, the big talking points for me in the first half, there was 2 penalty shouts for us.
Yes.
And I think the consensus seems to be that the first one was more of a penalty than the second one. I mean, there was a guy sat next to me yesterday. The seat next to me is not a season ticket seat, and the guy was there yesterday with his son. They're Spurs fans. They're just doing the 92, so he was a complete neutral. Going there, lovely bloke. And I found out that he used to be an EFL referee as well. So he had a little bit of insight into some of the bits that were going on in the referee's brain, presumably. He didn't really say anything at all until Ben House gets bundled over, and he just turned to me and he just went, "Pen." That was it. That was the first thing that he said to me. He was at pen. That's a pen. Like the first thing, and you just think Ben House knew what he was doing. He kind of delayed it, so he made the contact, but the contact was enough to knock him over. And I think if you're in that position, you've got to get anywhere else on the field. That's a foul. Why is it not a penalty?
Yeah, totally agree with that. I thought it was a penalty at the time, and I've watched it back, and I still think it's a penalty. The ball comes into the box. Ben House chests it down, or chests it. It kind of bounces up. It looks like he's literally, or certainly live, it looked like he was lifting his foot about to leather it. And the Exeter defender just takes him out. He leads with his arm, and yet it's not in the head, but it's into his body. Leads with his arm. It's not a shoulder to shoulder. It's full frontal, so to speak. He just collides with Ben House directly in, kind of chest to chest, so to speak, apart from it's his arm. And he doesn't win the ball, just takes Ben House out as he's about to, have a shot on goal. For me, I think it's a penalty. I do.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, like I say, anywhere else in the field that's given. The other one, I think we might be able to feel a little bit aggrieved about this one, given who was on the receiving end. So Rob Street, if you say it like this, it just sounds really harsh, but Rob Street got leathered in the jaw. It's, somebody swings a boot and it hits he basically kicked Rob Street in the jaw. Now, bear in mind, Rob Street got his second yellow card the other week, and was sent off for something where his foot didn't even make contact with the opposition player. It feels a little bit harsh to not be given anything in that instance, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I've watched this one back. At the time, again, I thought it was a penalty. I've seen them given I've seen them. We've seen them given against us and against Rob Street. But yeah, the boot was high. The boot was high. I mean, yeah, the player does make contact with the ball, but what are the rules for high boot? If your boot is high, it's a foul, and we've seen it given against us, and that's why I think it's more irritating. You know, you always say this: if that was given against us in the area, would I be, you know, foaming at the mouth with rage that we'd been given an unfair penalty against us? Probably not. I'd probably go, well, his boot was high. You can't go in with your boot that high in the box.
Yeah.
So look, I think another couple of unlucky moments for us in that game where things were just not going our way.
Yeah, definitely. I think the overriding feeling was that it was at halftime. It kind of felt like it wasn't going to be our day. You know, you have a few chances, particularly that Collins header that gets tipped over the bar. You know, you think we're gonna struggle against these. But yeah, going into half time, I thought we still had enough in us to win the match. You know, I was sat there thinking we can't lose against this because they are poor. They were a really poor side. You know, the fact that the goalkeeper got booked really early doors for belting the ball away, but sort of chased it for a throw in, and then just kicks the ball into the stand after it's gone out. He eats a yellow card for that, and it's really clever when you think about it, because it takes a very strong referee at that point to then issue him a second yellow card for time wasting, because that was then what his game plan was. You know, you could see they were time wasting from about the 5th or 6th minute. But if you've got a goalkeeper that's willing to time waste that much and just basically have the ref sort of look at his watch and go, come on, like, repeatedly, if he's not been given a yellow card already, he gets a yellow card for that. But the fact that he's on a yellow shouldn't change the decision that's being made by the referee. And I just felt maybe a yellow card for him then was probably one of the worst things to happen, because it just meant that they weren't going to speed anything up. But yeah, it felt like they came to. We say that, you know, when teams they come here for a point. Like, they've set up to earn at least a point, I think, is probably the best way of putting it. You know, no, everybody goes into every game wanting to win it, but you set up not to lose it, and then if you can nick something, you will do. But yeah, what were you? How were you feeling at half time?
Same. I was kind of thinking it's not going to be our day. I think that was said multiple times by multiple people, including myself. Also, it's just not our day, is it? It's just not our day, is it? And it felt like that. I'm with you. I think the goalkeeper getting booked, there was no way the referee was going to give a second yellow at any point for time wasting. No way after that. So that was a bit frustrating. It just, I did have some hope though. I was kind of, it's not our day, is it? But again, I'm confident with this team that we were going to come out in the second half. And, you know, Exeter weren't great. And we are a good team. We've got the finishers, as they say, a bit Quoo, those sorts of players, and come off the bench. We were creating, like, we had chances. We were creating stuff. It just wasn't falling for us. So that, you know, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? As long as you're creating chances, that's fine. When you're not creating them, that's when you need to worry. So probably frustrated, but not worried at halftime.
Yeah,
but there we go.
Yeah,
Famous last words.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I was sat. As well. You know, to be fair, I was thinking, well, frustration was definitely the key emotion. But yeah, right. Well, we will discuss the second half and how we tried to combat that in just a moment. But we are 34 minutes in, so it's only right that we take a quick break for an advert. If you're listening, if you are watching, then we'll say hello and we'll get some lovely, lovely comments from all of our live watchers. So we'll catch you in just a second. There we go. Right, let's see who we've got in.
Before we do comments, Ben, sorry, little peek behind the scenes to all the watchers. One of us has got iffy internet, and it kind of you keep freezing for me, and I'm having to guess what you've said. So I don't know if it's mine cutting out or yours cutting out, but something it's a little bit
Okay.
iffy.
Ironically, when that happened, you did a little jiggle in terms of the internet connection. So I don't know. It's might be
So
one or two.
you're I can hear you, but your mouth is moving differently. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna assume I know what you're saying.
Okay. I mean, nobody does anyway, so that's what we'll just leave it at that one. Right, let's go through the comments. Let's see who we've got in. Dave Tucklin's in, says, evening, everybody. Tony says, apart from the sloppy goal we conceded, there were still positives. We had enough chances to score. 100%. We'll be talking about that in a second. Andy, evening all. Still trying to fathom how they left the bank with 3 points. It was a bank robbery. Fossey's in, said, good evening, everybody. Steve Barton, Stacey West Ultras leader, is in, says, evening, everybody. Ian says, good evening. That was one of the most boring matches ever yesterday. I think that's probably, it felt quite fight dull. That's not a word. Felt quite dull. There we go. So let's see who else we got in. Carl's in. Good to chat to you yesterday, mate. Evening, everyone. Despite the results, I'd still enjoyed yesterday's game. Disappointing, yes, of course, but not season ending. I'd rather lose to Exeter than Stevenage in a couple of weeks. 100%. Let's have a look. Matt's in, says, evening all. Evening, Bemily. That's what we like to see. Ian says, I agree, it could definitely be worse. Lisa, 25 hours after the event, still gutted about yesterday's result. Complete dominance in the second half. We are on the right track. Oh, Emily's camera's view changed.
I've turned my definition down in case that's causing some problems.
Okay. Well,
I'm on a new laptop, you see. I don't know. I'm just.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just kind of snapped in very quickly. I was like, oh, that's new. Right, let's have a look. Who else is in? Charlie is in. Charlie Smith says, we'll talk about that one in a minute, because that was a weird moment in the second half. And apparently there was a reason for the long delay, which we'll discuss. Dom's in, says, evening all. Malcolm Johnson's in, says, hi, everyone. Richard's in, says, evening all. Adam Bull's in, says, evening all. David Larder's in. Jacob's in. Good evening, Ben and Emily. Evening, mate. Are we well? Obviously, Leslie's in, says, evening, kids. That's how we've, podcast kids, and then an actual kid. Ollie's in, says, evening all. Red Wimp says, evening, both. Harry's in, says, hi, guys. Walter's in, says, evening. And then we've got a lot of lovely comments about the new design. Ian says, a Stacey West hoodie. Again, maybe watch this space. We shall see. Margaret says, hi, Ben and Emily. Susie says, love the logo and how it works across the different streams of the Stacey West. Absolutely. It's all very, very cohesive and very lovely. There's so many comments. So many comments. Richard says,
lots
you're both
of chat about the game, which is good.
Yeah, Richard says that you're both sounding good in Swine's Head, so that's all right.
Oh, good.
I'm happy with that one. Charlie does say, big thank you to the Stacey West guys for the Lowlands Junior Football Club under 7 Raptors sponsorship. The new logo will be emblazoned on the Lowlands JFC under 7 Raptors kits very soon. Very exciting times. So. Right. I think if I have missed anybody, please do accept the apologies. But we're going to come back in, I think, unless we've got anything else that we want to give as an exclusive to the live viewers.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Right. We'll come back in then, and we'll start talking about the second half in 3, 2, 1. There we go. That was an advert. Thank you to our sponsors for the week. We don't know who they are. We never know who they are. Gary's not done a bespoke note for McDonald's for ages. You know, it's been so long.
I miss those when I used to listen.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you mean you don't listen now?
Well, yeah.
Caught you out there.
You know what, Ben? I always tune in on YouTube for the
Yes.
behind the scenes access.
That's how you do marketing, folks. That's how you do marketing. Right. Let's talk about the second half, because I think you said, didn't you? You thought we'd come out with a little bit more gusto in the second half and attack Exeter. It's sort of how we would have normally done in the first half, and I think realistically, it's probably fair to say that we dominated the second half. I thought we would, we looked decent. I think it was it was it was a bit more of the same, though. That there was a lot of huffing and a lot of puffing, that there wasn't too much of an end product. And I think the wasted chances would obviously come to kickers in the backside come the end of the game. But I mean, yeah, just as I said at the start, when you get 53 touches in the opposition box, it just doesn't translate to a goal. You can't work out how.
No. And, I think we did come out in the second half and dominate, like you say. I think we came out better with a bit more faster start than we saw in the first half. And I do think we had our best chances in the second half. We tested their keeper. But I think with that, we were probably more wasteful. I think we weren't clinical enough, because I think all the chances in the first half, like I say, lots of kind of half chances, decent balls into the box, nobody really getting on the end of them, the final ball not being quite there. But in the second half, yeah, we did have some more clear-cut chances that tested the keeper or didn't, in some respects, and just weren't clinical enough. Just efforts that I have seen us score recently, similar kind of efforts. Draper's hit the post.
Yep.
Which that post's got a lot to answer for in recent weeks, because it's the same post that Lewis Montsma hits, and now Freddie Draper has hit it as well.
Yeah, no, that felt like if going in at half time you think, it's maybe not going to be our day, that probably felt okay. Yeah, it's definitely not our day today. Really good strike from Draper, but yeah, to sort of cannon off the post. And what was more galling about it was it cannoned off the post straight into a defender and then straight out. You just think, how can you do that?
Yeah.
But I mean, look, going through the stats on FOTMob, because I don't have the Y-Scout access, because I would probably just waste all of Gary's minutes watching ridiculous clips. Yeah, looking at the stats, their goalkeeper in the second half got, well, I think in the whole game, got their man of the match for them. And we said about 50 touches in the opposition box. We had 31 touches in the box in the second half alone. We had 60% of the possession in the second half compared to 40%. A 0.2 xG. I know people are going to be head in hands at the dreaded xG klaxon. But every single stat is well in our favour. And I think we've said before, and I'm fairly certain it was Danny Cowley said many moons ago, he'd be more disappointed if we weren't making the chances, if we weren't getting into those positions, because it shows that there's a fundamental problem. I think the fact that in this game we had that many chances to take the lead, yes, it's disappointing yesterday, and yes, it's galling, but longer term, we're doing the right things. We just didn't get the final thing right yesterday.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely accurate. There is absolutely no fundamental problem. I've not come away from that game feeling concerned, feeling worried, feeling panicked, feeling anything other than, God, that's annoying. We were so good, actually. We should have seen it out and got a comfortable win. So yeah, I think looking at the bigger picture, it's absolutely not not a cause for concern at all. And it's little things, isn't it? It's Street had a chance 1-on-1 with their goalkeeper, and the keeper makes a decent save. But I think he buried that against Chelsea 1-on-1 with the keeper. He absolutely buried it, and yesterday didn't. And I'm jumping ahead here, but Abikwu had a chance which he just absolutely sliced at, and it went at high, wide, and handsome. But we saw him against, was it Luton? Where he just ran through and absolutely belted it. Was that the Luton game? Just a stunning finish, and you just think, I just couldn't do that yesterday either. Those little things just not falling, not going, just not happening yesterday. People were not out there, not on fire.
No, it's just like we say, it wasn't our day, and it's frustrating to just keep saying that, but ultimately, I don't know what else we can say about that game yesterday. We did everything right apart from the final bits, and to go back to what Michael Skubala said, trying to score that perfect goal. I think the prime instance of that, and Gary mentioned it in his write-up, the one for me was where Ben House has got it, and he just takes an extra touch, plays it to Collins, who's slightly wrong-footed, and he kind of has to get his feet out from under himself and puts it wide. You think, why didn't Housey just lash it like that? That's that kind of moment where you think, all you've got to do is just put your foot through it. And there were so many moments like that in the second half where you think they've played it around, they've taken one too many touches. I don't know what changed yesterday, but it felt like if those chances had arisen last week at Peterborough, we'd probably come away from that game 5 or 6-0 up. Whereas yesterday, it just didn't happen for us.
Yeah, no, it didn't, did it? And we had so many chances. We've mentioned Draper hitting the post. We've mentioned Rob Street going 1-on-1. James Collins had a sort of effort from the halfway line, but he tried to have a go at. And it was one of them where, around us, we sort of said, we've got 4 strikers, more or less, 4 attackers on the pitch, and it fell to the wrong one in that situation, because you fancy Street or House or even Freddie to have a run towards goal with it, but obviously not. That's not Collins's game. So we had all those chances.
I mean, with that one, the he was fouled. I think he was trying to draw the foul more than have a shot, and the ref didn't give it. So it's like, well, he wouldn't have taken the shot if he wasn't going to get fouled. So I don't know.
Yeah, but then we had started to build up that momentum again, didn't we? Started to, we were knocking at the door, and we built up the momentum, and then their keeper had the trainer had to come on and give some treatment to the keeper, and I think that killed any momentum that we were picking up. And it felt like from there on in, that was a lot of what we saw, slowing the game down, killing momentum, injuries, physios coming on. Yeah, really difficult then to get any flow in the game. And it
did feel really difficult
either.
No, he definitely didn't help with that at all. There was one moment which I think we'll come to, because there's a few comments around it. There was a delay in the game for about 5 or 6 minutes where I think initially I thought, someone's trying to make a substitution and the ref's just holding it up for whatever reason. And then more time went by, and you think, what's going on here? Tendai was not impressed with the referee. I know Tendai got taken off, and I think the reason for Tendai being taken off for me probably felt more of a disciplinary thing. Like, he wasn't on a yellow. The first game of the season, I think we've not had a single yellow card, by the way. But it felt to me like Tendai was maybe starting to lose his head with the ref a little bit. But he wasn't impressed with the referee when all this was going on. Ben House certainly wasn't impressed with the referee, and the rumor that started to sort of make its way round from people that were in the I'm still calling it the St Andrews stand, the people that were in that stand, and apparently some people on the TV as well. They were able to hear with the sort of the mic's been quite close to the pitch. Apparently, one of the Exeter players did a Vinnie Jones, second Vinnie Jones mention of the podcast for the evening. But yeah, apparently he did a Vinnie Jones and wanted to get quite intimate with how can I put this delicately? Ben's house. Is that a way of putting it? I don't know.
Yeah, use your
Yeah,
imaginations, folks.
yeah. Apparently the word balls was mentioned, and in audible range of the commentary. So I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if that is accurate, but it certainly sounds like one of the Exeter players was trying to. Here we go. Andy says Ben mouthed to the ref, "He grabbed my balls." And if anybody is clipping parts of the podcast for anything to do with no context, then by all means, that is going to be the one. And I'm sure if Stu clips this up, that's going to have a field day. But yeah, apparently he grabbed Ben House by the ghoulies. And but the thing is that really then slowed the game down, and it didn't pick up the pace after that, because like you say, there was the keeper went down. There was I think 2 or 3 more of their players went down. One player
One of
went
their
down.
players went down and got up again.
Yeah, I was going to say at one point
Like-
somebody went down. The ref didn't didn't stop the play, and he sort of got up and sprinted at the ref. You're like, okay, so you're not really that injured, are you?
No.
And look, we've done it before. We did it against Bolton. We took the lead inside a minute and we slowed the game down. It's what you do to win football matches. I'm not going to complain about that, because we've seen the other side of it. It just felt very frustrating, and you kind of go, okay, right, let's just grab a chance by the scruff of the neck and lash one into the top corner. Obviously, like you say, Justin Abiku came on, and you there was a little bit of consternation about Abiku coming on, or more to the point, there was a bit of consternation about James Collins going off. So, I mean, how did you think about it? Because actually, no, sorry, James Collins went off for Rico Hackett.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the comments, and I'm probably not going to be a very popular person for this opinion, but I think taking him off was the right thing to do. Don't come at me. He was having one of those games, which is how I often describe a James Collins performance. He's having one of those games today where if he's not scoring goals, he doesn't feature much. He doesn't create much, does he? And he can drift. And he drifted a bit yesterday, I think. So had a few chances in the first half, had that one saved in the second, but I think other than that, he wasn't. I don't know if he's your man for when you're desperately trying to break through and create stuff. I don't know. Don't hate me, listeners, but I was pleasing to see something different.
I do get what you mean, because it's James Collins is the kind of player that we've been crying out for a number of years, in that we need somebody that can score goals. Not somebody that creates the goals, not somebody that creates the chances. We don't need that midfield maestro. We don't need that really the engine room of a number 10 that can just go and go and go and create loads of stuff. We don't need the people that get in the balls in the box. We need someone on the end of it that can finish it. And I think if you're in a slight dip in form and you're that player, I mean this with no disrespect to James Collins whatsoever, but that's what he does. And if he's not doing that well, there are other players in the squad that can do more things probably not quite as well. You know, there's no better goal scorer in our team than James Collins, but there are other players that can do more. And I think that's probably why he got taken off yesterday for Rico Hackett.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I have to agree. He does. He drifts in and out of games, and sometimes he's absolutely unplayable because he's scoring goals, and that it's fantastic. And yeah, like you say, he's such a key player in our squad for the goals. But yeah, he does drift in and out when those it's not that kind of a game. So yeah, I think it was the right decision. We saw a few subs in that second half. As you say, a bit crew came on. Hamer came on, I think, probably for his long throw as well. I know you talked about Dariqa, kind of Dariqa. That's a new one that I've struggled with. Tendai coming off. But yeah, I think that long throw from Hamer was a threat, and we know that Abitku is a real threat. But as I mentioned earlier on, he had a really good opportunity. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. It was kind of dropping and bouncing in front of him, but yeah, I hoped he would do better.
As we said earlier, that the weather was a big factor yesterday for both sides, obviously, but it didn't. I don't think it was particularly conducive to either team. It felt overly scrappy. But then referee signals for 9 minutes.
That was it, wasn't it? That was it. Game over. Game over. Just no. It ends there. We all go home.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
No. Is that not it? No.
No, sadly not, Ems. Sadly not.
No.
9 minutes of injury time. I genuinely thought there would probably be about a week and a half. But the board goes up and you think, right, we've got a chance to do this. We've got a chance to win this. And I still cannot figure out how that goal has gone in for Exeter. Because we didn't really offer too much in injury time. Like there was a little bit of pressure. Tell a lie. Was Abitku's chance in injury time, or was that a little bit earlier on?
Yes, yes, it was. Yeah.
So that was that. I think that was the chance, wasn't it? That goes in. We all go home happy because if we'd have scored in that game earlier, Exeter didn't have enough in them to come back into the game. I don't think. I think their heads would have dropped and I think they would have gone. I think if we'd have scored, if we'd have had our normal start, got the early goal, we could have sit back and that was it. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. Abitku's chance, like you say, he swung a leg at it, I think. And it just ballooned over and you think, yeah, that's probably it now. Let's go home, let's have a point and we'll all be happy. And then the ball somehow ends up in the back of the Imps net. So let's try and work out what happened here, Emily, because I still don't know. Did Rico Hackett switch off, do we think?
Well, possibly. I mean, when you look at the replay back, he sort of, I don't really know how to describe it. He kind of, all of a sudden, it's like a, oh shit, moment. Yeah. He sort of starts then running at the player. That's the only way I can describe it, is a, oh God. So yeah, possibly. I think, the ball comes over, we win the initial header at the back, which, we're excellent at. We don't pick up the second ball then. So that initial header, when we've won it, we've lost possession, then they come forward. The pullback gets a deflection off Adam Jackson's heel. I think it's Jacko. It's just, Rico's not switched on. Top of the area. Crap shot. Crap. Doesn't even hit it properly. Just kind of bobbles slowly towards goal, and Wickens is just wrong-footed, stood there watching it. Just, oh God, so frustrating. I'm not over it yet. Can you tell?
Just a bit, because I'm feeling the same. Like when it went in, my initial thought was, who's offside? Because it felt like one of those moments where the flag's gone up, the whistle's gone, and everyone's just sort of, he's kicked it because he's in the motion to kick it, and everyone's just stopped and watched it. I just thought why have we just stopped? And yeah, I could not get my head around it at all. As I say, it was a scuffed shot. The more I look back at it, I don't really see how Wickens is particularly unsighted, because he's got near enough a clear view through a crowd of players, and it's that pass that the ball takes, and it yeah. I mean, Flossie says here it rolled in like slow motion. It did. It takes two bounces before it hits the goal line.
And but that's it, isn't it? You know, ultimately, we have had so many chances, half chances. That was the only real effort that I feel they had, and in it went. And that's football. That's football, Ben.
Yeah,
why do we do
sadly,
it?
Annoyingly, that's what Chris put in our group chat, and he just said, "Oh, that's football." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't like football. When this happens, I don't like football."
Yeah, just let us have a moment, Chris, of just wallowing in our own misery about this. We'll be fine in a bit, but just hold off the positivity just for a short while. But yeah, it was just. I mean, they would have been delighted with a 0-0. They would have been delighted 100%. With that, and they nicked it. But hey, I think on the whole, it was the classic not our day. Things weren't landing for us. When they did land for us, we weren't clinical enough. Skabala mentioned overplaying. We've mentioned it. You can definitely see that in a few of our attacks. And they had one shot and it bobbled in. We all went home feeling a little bit deflated.
Yeah, I mean, we say we go home deflated. I think deflated and frustrated are the two immediate words. But I don't think there was anything to particularly worry about after that game. Not. And I think this is the biggest part of this for me is watching some of the reactions flip. Because last year, if we'd have lost this game and I think that because they had a goal disallowed, didn't they, late last year? And I think, if we'd have lost this game after a decent run last year, people might have been a bit, oh, it's crap. But I think there's enough that's been shown this season so far to go, but this is what we're trying to do. And the overriding attitude and the overriding feeling right now just seems to be, it wasn't our day. So we wipe the slate clean and we have an extended break, which we'll just talk about in a second, and then we'll come back for Stevenage, who I'm sure that'll be a thrilling game of football.
Yes. Well, there's a lot to play for in that game, I suppose. But can't say it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a classic, play wise. But before we wrap up on the Exeter game, I wanted to add something to your new suggested and proposed rules of football.
Okay.
Because I heard you talk about your the minutes of added time should be divided by the goals scored, and to make it feel like we don't need to play 10 minutes when you're 5-0 up or whatever. And this was something that was discussed around where we sit yesterday when Exeter were really slowing the game down. And this is around substitutions. And we discussed that the player that's coming on should have to come onto the pitch at the same pace as the player that's left it. But you can kick off. You can restart play. But they've got to move into their position on the pitch at that same speed, because they drag it out when you're trying to slow the game down and waste a bit of time. The walking so slow. I don't know how it's even possible. And then the player comes on like running like really fast. He should have to come on at the same pace. That's a new rule that I'd like to propose to Bemley's rules of football. Alternative rules. That.
Another one as well. I just had a thought of this one. The player that's coming on should have to sprint the same distance that the player has walked off before they come
Yes.
on, so that they're partly knackered. So if somebody is on the other side of the pitch and then they do a really long, slow walk, like the lad did yesterday, and the ref doesn't hurry them up, if they walk the entire width of the field to go off, the person coming on has to then sprint to the place where they started walking off the pitch and then get in position.
Or they could walk really slowly at the same pace, but you can still play, but they can't get involved until they've got there. So they're just out of the game.
I'd do both. I'd do both. I'd have them sprint so that they're knackered and then walk really slowly to the point that they went off.
Yeah.
I'll do it. So yeah, look, I mean, Exeter, it's one of those games, you put it behind us, we move on. Obviously, we have the international break, so we have no football, Emily, for 2 weeks. We don't even have a Tuesday game.
I know. I'm going to spend time with my boyfriend, which will be nice. He won't be a football widower for a weekend. So that'd be nice for him.
Yeah, we're going to have to spend time with our friends and family.
Mhm.
Have
Yeah.
to. That's the disappointing. I mean, that's yeah. Obviously, the game next week being off, I think it's yeah, it is what it is. We've all had the thoughts on it. I think with Conor McGrandles being out injured yesterday, if that does prove to be a slightly longer injury than 1 week, then it might have been justified, but we shall see. What that does lead us to is plans for the podcast for the week, obviously with no game to talk about for 2 entire podcasts. We are going to take a slight international break ourselves on Wednesday this week. When I say an international break, I'm going to Bristol. So
I'm going to London on Thursday, so there we go.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in Bristol on Thursday, and Emily's in London. So yeah, the amount of miles travelled, you can count that as an international break. So we won't have a podcast on Wednesday or Thursday this week, depending on when you normally pick it up or listen. But what I am thinking about doing, if I get the time to do it before then, is all of our interviews and stuff that we've done through the deadline day streams. We're going to sort of pick them out with people from the club, put them together in one big, long, sort of not quite feature length, but a slightly longer interview collection, which will hopefully tell the story of a transfer within Sinsel Bank. So yeah, we've obviously got Luke from the media team. We've got Kieran from the medical team. We've got a couple of probably insights from Jez, and we've got Conor McGrandles as well from a deadline day from a player's perspective. But we're going to put that out possibly on the audio. We'll definitely put it out on YouTube on Wednesday, and then Sunday. I'm not 100% sure whether we'll be having a podcast next Sunday either, because again, with no Tuesday game to preview, it might be a questions and answers special. So chuck some questions at us. If you want to get questions directly to us, you can become a patron of the Stacey West on patreon.com/Stacey West. I think it is. Just check the website and make sure I've got that link right. Get yourself on the Patreon and you'll get access to our Discord channel. It's bloody great in there. I love it. Loads of people talking football. We don't all have a big old, dance around holding hands. There are some disagreements in there, but it's very respectful. Everybody has a good time in there, and we love our patrons. And we also do the prediction league. Of which Emily is no longer top, because we were too positive on Saturday, weren't we?
Yeah, this one, definitely, yeah. It's been a bad all round this week for me.
It has been bad all round from a footballing perspective, but we have a lovely, shiny new look at the Stacey West. We are eternally grateful to Mr. Rowson for doing it, and hopefully you will like it as well. But as people are starting to drop in the comments already, there is only one more thing that we do need to say. Matt is going to kick us off tonight. Emily, up the imps.
Up the imps.